Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to the Tao of Investing. And there's been some interesting happenings between the U.S. and Europe. And with the Saudi National Bank pulling out of some of the Swiss banks there, and you have other banks trying to cover those loans, and then those banks going down, it begs the question, how did this happen? How did a bank going down in California affect European banks in Switzerland? And the answer is the Eurodollar. Now, those in the know understand what the Eurodollar is. Now, I honestly had no idea what it was until this happened. So I'm going to kind of break down what it is, why it's important, and why understanding this idea will help alleviate a lot of the confusion, and you can see how interconnected the West is. Now, the Eurodollar is easily confused with the Euro US dollar currency pair, or Euro 4 Flex futures. The euro dollar has nothing to do with Europe's single currency that was launched in '99. Rather, euro dollars are time deposits dominated in US dollars and held in banks outside the US. So anytime the dollar is messed up, that affects those deposits. A time deposit is simply an interest-yielding bank deposit with a specific date of maturity. Since time deposits are not inside U.S. borders, euro dollars are outside the jurisdiction of the Federal Reserve and subject to lower levels of regulation. That's why most of the American currency and most of the investment in that currency is overseas. Americans don't invest in the American dollar. European nations do. Asian nations do. Central South American nations do. And it's held offshore or in other countries where the Federal Reserve can't touch it. Which in and of itself should be an issue, but for some reason it's not. Now, the euro dollars typically offer higher yields because they're not subject to U.S. bank regulations, but they also carry greater risks. The name Eurodollar was devised from the fact that the initial dollar denomination deposits are largely held in European banks. So this is why there's so much problems in Europe right now with something that happened in California. At first, these deposits were known as Eurobank dollars. However, the US dollar denominated deposits are now held in financial centers across the globe. So people invest heavily in the US dollar because of all the currencies worldwide, we're the one, our currency's basically accepted anywhere because it's worth a lot, or would be if, we didn't have idiots running the joint. But I digress. The term euro currency is used to describe currency deposited in a bank that is not located in the home country where the currency is issued. For example, Japanese yen deposited in a bank in Brazil would be defined as euro currency. Because again, you have people who just trade on exchange rates. Now, this is post-World War II. A lot of European countries were propped up by the US dollar. And so investing in the dollar not only meant, hey, the United States, the baddest MFer on the planet, is backing our bank, but it also meant that American businesses could go to Europe, set up shop, and they could use American currency. So it was a win-win for everybody. Europe got their reconstruction. You had, business booming again. People could work. And it also was good international trade. With the introduction of the European Parliament, with the introduction of Brexit, a lot's changed. And not necessarily for the better. Where you have countries who aren't even in control of their own sovereignty. You have the European Union telling countries, hey, you don't get to make financial decisions for your country. We make that. We tell you what to do. No. Just that picture alone is wrong. But this is why so much that's happening here in the U.S. is destroying Europe. The Saudi National Bank pulled out of one of the largest Swiss banks in the world. They said, yeah, we're not financing you anymore. We're pulling our accounts. We're done. Because the Saudi banks were like, we're not doing that. We're not covering your debts because you invested in a bunch of crap. So another bank had to come in and say, we'll cover those loans. We'll cover those debts. You want to look at a great financial government? Look at the Saudis. They don't have a lot of natural resources, but it's one of the richest countries in the world. Why? Taxes are low. Business is high. They don't have a lot of government restrictions, and they're very shrewd business-wise. And they're not beholden to anybody. They don't give a crap what happens to anybody. They care about them. Where you could say that's isolationist doctrine, it's protected them. Because first and foremost, they're for the Saudi people. Everyone else is just a business partner. But without going into grave detail, a lot of this, launched post-World War II and then came really big in 81 when Euro futures were first contracted from the Chicago Exchange. For some reason I can't say that word. Now, originally it was the time deposit, having a principal of $1 million with 3 months a maturity. On the expiration, the seller of the cash settled future contracts can transfer the associated cash position rather than making a delivery. So basically you're just transferring it over and over and over and over and over. And it's highly unstable. It's a high risk, high reward. Because just like now, what happens if banks fail in the U.S.? Now you're stuck with a very volatile, very worthless amount of money. And that's why this is a huge, huge tidal wave across the financial district worldwide. And the Fed has to pump $2 trillion in newly minted money to ease the blow. But let me know what y'all think about this. Have you heard of the Eurodollar? Did you know what it does? The futures, the curve, the rate? If you did and there's something I've missed, leave it in the comments down below. Let me know. My name is Daniel. This has been the Tao of Investing. And y'all, the more I learn, the more I realize that they should teach this stuff in school.